Hello beautiful people, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Lexi and in today's video I am so excited to be bringing you guys my 2023 TBR. It might be a little bit late to be making this video, however, I feel like it. This is what we're doing. I will love having it to refer back to later in the year to see if I actually stuck to this TBR, which you guys are not allowed to hold me accountable for sticking to this, going in any order. You're not allowed to. Don't expect me to. I am just putting this out here to maybe manifest that I will actually finish all of the books on my shelf and on this TBR, because most of them are from my shelf. I have it here, handy dandy list, and I will be going back through it over the year. So maybe a fun mid-year TBR progress video will be incoming. Who knows? The goal is, of course, to get through all of these books and a few more, because my reading goal for this year is 50 books, and there's definitely not that many on this list. However, we'll see what life has in store and how much reading I actually get done. But again, the goal is to complete this list and more later. This list mostly is comprised of books that I already own on my shelf. However, I did include a few that were not already owned by me, simply because I know that I want to read them and hopefully I can get to them this year. So maybe putting it on the list will manifest it, that I can get to them. But of course, for the most part, I own all of the books on this list. That is what most of the list is comprised of. Now, without any further ado, let's hop right in. Now, these aren't in any particular order of how I want to read them. I did put the first couple in order by things that I'm most excited to read, but after I get past the first like 3, honestly, it's sort of just listed out in whatever order I thought of them as. So the first book that I have on this list is Nick and Charlie. I put that up first, even though I'm kind of in the middle, well, not really in the middle of a series because the next book isn't out yet anyway, so I don't really have to worry about it. But I put this before anything else because it is absolutely tiny, and as I discussed in my book haul video, this will take me like 2 hours to read, so I can knock it out pretty quick and bulk up my book list for January, so I will be picking this up next just to get it out of the way. Not necessarily get out of the way, because I am very excited to read it, but you know, add more books and then be able to move on to something bigger. Next up, I have Kingdom of the Wicked. I do have this entire, I believe it's a trilogy. I'm fairly certain that it's a trilogy, but I'm not positive. But I do have this entire series on my TBR. However, I only own the first book, so I'm not going to be super picky about like reading them in order. And that isn't going to be the case with a couple of books on this list, but again, I do want to read this one because Cassandra hyped it up quite a bit, and I'm very excited to get into it. So that will be probably after Nick and Charlie, unless I change my mind. Again, don't hold me accountable for sticking to this list. Once again, I have another book that Cassandra hyped up, so I want to read, and I've heard very good things about this overall. I am very excited to pick up Lore. It is a standalone, which I love. I haven't read too many standalones as of late, so that will be super fun. And I did already own this like far before Cassandra recommended it to me, so knowing that I have it on my shelf makes me very excited to get into it. And I meant to get to it over break, but then I just got a lot more busy than I had planned on being and didn't get nearly as much time to read as I thought I would. That's going to be the case with a couple of books, but very excited to pick it up. Next up, I have These Violent Delights. I believe this is a duology, and I do want to read both of these, but again, only own the first one. So again, not too worried about reading them in order, but I mean, obviously in order, but like not one after the other, because I don't really feel like buying the other book. I don't really have a place to put it. I'm already having to store books on the floor because I don't have another shelf. Hopefully we'll be getting one soon, but I gotta figure out where to put it because there's a vent on the edge of this shelf that I would cover if I put another shelf beside it, but I don't want to have just like a random bookshelf floating around my room. That feels weird. So I will have to do some problem solving before I probably pick up any more books, but we shall see. Next up, and we're definitely going much less in order now, probably starting from the last one. I don't have these in any particular order because I'm just going to mood read however I feel like, what I think will get me done the fastest. But I do want to pick up at some point The Atlas Paradox. It is, of course, the sequel to The Atlas 6, which I have read already and do own. So once I get a new shelf, this will be going next to it because, of course, it is the sequel. So obviously they need to be put together because I'm one of those people who organizes my bookshelf by series. As much as I love colorful bookshelves, I do mine by series. I can't do it any other way. I tried for a little while and it drove me absolutely insane. So can't wait to put these bad boys together because, as I said in the last video, they're going to look so cool. This is another one that I'm probably going to pick up sooner rather than later, but put down on the list just because I felt like it. I don't know. But that is Priory of the Orange Tree. I am so excited to read this. I am so excited to delve into the world. I've heard so many great things about this book, and I can't wait to take it to school and have everybody look at me like, it's going to be so good. And I can't get over how cool this cover is. I'm so excited for this. I might actually read it after Nick and Charlie, but probably not. But maybe. I don't know. We'll see. It's gonna be very soon because I am so excited for this one. Next up, and this probably won't be for a little while because I've been reading a lot of her books lately, and I need a break. I want to get into some other worlds before I dive back into this one, and this is probably the series by her that I am least excited about to read, just because it seems less interesting than the rest of them. I don't know. I'm really enjoying Chain of Gold and Chain of Iron, but that is Cassandra Clare's The Dark Artifices series. Of course, I have all three. I'm only getting the first one out because why not? But as I said, I am loving the Chain of Gold series, which has a name. I think it's like The Last Hours. I don't know, but I'm on Chain of Iron currently, and it is top tier. It's like definitely by far my favorite books that I've read from her so far, and I don't think this will even come close to touching them, so I'm gonna give myself a long break before I delve back into Cassandra Clare and pick these up, just so that I'm not judging it too harshly, because I did that with Adib Khorram's books, where I read them and then read his newest book, and it wasn't quite as good as the other ones, so I was more disappointed in it than I probably would have been otherwise. And I don't want to do that with these, so I'm gonna give myself some time just so I don't judge them more harshly than I should. Then I have another book that I picked up over winter break, and that is Shadows Between Us. I talked about this one. I am very excited to pick it up because it sounded intriguing, but I'm not so excited that I'm going to oust my entire TBR over it. I was when I first picked it up, but now that I've had it sitting for a little while, I'm still excited to read it, but not pressing to read. You know? Do you feel me? When you get a new book, you're like, yes, I have to read it. And I think that might be part of what's happening with Priory too. But this one has had a bit to simmer in, and I haven't read it, so I have a feeling she might sit for a little while, but it does sound really cool, so maybe not as long as it would otherwise. Then, of course, I picked up The Hobbit, and I do want to give this bad boy a read. I do want to eventually read this entire series, but I don't have them all, and getting them is not a priority. I've been searching for them for years. I can wait longer. I have the first book, and I do want to get it read. I've been waiting to read these books forever, and I'll probably end up giving in at some point this year and just buying a mass market version of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. But I don't know that I'll get to reading them this year. Maybe if I finish everything else and have nothing else to read, we will just have to wait and see. But very excited to read these finally. Yet again, more books that I picked up over winter break, but I did pick up Iron Widow, and I am excited to get to this. Again, it's probably the same case as Shadows Between Us, where I'm not as excited as I am for other books, but I'm still very eager, and I believe this is a part of a duology. I know it's at least got one other book in the series, maybe more, and I do, again, want to read the entire series, but this is not one that I'm going to prioritize finishing this year, just because I don't feel like it. If I get through my whole TBR and I get my hands on the other book, or books, plural, great, we'll read them, and I might, again, change my mind after I read the first book and be like, I have to know now. But I also don't have anywhere to put the other books, so we will just have to see. But I do want to get her read because I'm excited. It sounds so cool. I loved the premise of this. These will probably be on my TBR sooner rather than later, just because I do have the full set here, and I'm very excited to get to them. These were the Camelot Rising trilogy, the off-brand Merlin. Not the off-brand Merlin. What's the word that I'm looking for? It's the reimagining of the Arthurian legends. That's what I'm thinking of. or the off-brand Merlin, I guess. But I'm very excited because, as I said, I've been on a big Merlin kick recently, and like all things Arthurian legends. So these will probably be a sooner rather than later for those two reasons, and I am so excited to read them. I haven't read something that I haven't heard about off the internet for a very long time. So just like finding these guys and picking them up of my own accord, I'm super excited to see if I'm still as good of a judge of books as I used to be, or if I just get all my recommendations from other people and just go with the flow. This one will probably be on my TBR sooner rather than later, but not necessarily because I'm excited about it, but more so to get it out of the way because I'm not nearly as excited for it as I am for other books. And I think having this sitting on my TBR will kind of drown that out. All honesty, I don't know why I picked it up. I think I just picked it up because I'd seen a lot about it on like Bookstagram and wanted to have it on my shelf, but now that I'm trying to read everything on my shelf, I actually have to read it, and it sounds kind of cool-ish. I've heard good things about it, but the Stormcrow just does not seem like it will be my favorite read of this year by any means. Again, could be wrong, but I'm just not feeling the vibes from this book like I am from the other ones. So it will probably be a sooner read just to get it out of the way. Maybe I'll love it, who knows. I'm fairly certain this is a standalone. I hope it's a standalone. Now this. I am aware that this is a hefty series. I have seen not all of the books at half price, but that's where I got this, was from half price, because I thought it looked really cool. I love medieval-y things, and very excited to give this a read. But I have seen the 6th book, and there might even be more than that. So this is going to be a hefty boy. This will be a hefty task completing this series, and I am not by any means going to prioritize getting the rest of the series before I read this one. So we'll be reading this at some point this year. Very excited. This next book on my list is actually the first one on the list that I don't have physically, but it came to my head and I wanted to write it down before I forgot about it, and that is the second book in the Aristotle and Dante duology. I don't think they're planning on making any other books. Might be mistaken. Who knows? But it is, of course, the second book, Aristotle and Dante Discover the Waters of the World. If the camera is shaking, I apologize. My cat is bumping into my tripod. She's a silly goose. But yes, the second book, Aristotle and Dante Discover the Waters of the World, I believe it is called. I don't have it yet. I plan on getting it eventually because I really want to read it, because the first one was one of my favorite books of 2022. Time flies. But yes, the second one was one of my favorite books of 2022, and I really want to read the second one just because of how beautifully written the first one was. Very excited, want to get my hands on it. The next book is the, I want to read over here. It's the Magnus Chase trilogy by Rick Riordan, of course. But on my phone, I wrote the Magnus Bane trilogy, and it took me a second to remember what I meant, because, I mean, I would read a Magnus Bane trilogy. Please, Cassandra Clare, write books about Magnus Bane. I know you already wrote one, but write more, because I love Magnus Bane. But no, the Magnus Chase trilogy, I want to read. I've read the first book. It's been a while, so I might reread it, but I might not. Who knows? But I want to actually finish that series, because I never actually did, and I've heard very, very good things about it, and I want to, because of course Rick Riordan is a genius, and thus I want to read more books by him, so knock that out. Plus it's books I haven't read on my shelf, which is a stipulation of my book buying ban, which I'm back on now that I've spent all my Christmas money on books. Now this book I know is a series. I think there's 4 books in this series, but I only have the first one, and I have it in paperback, so I might try to get it on hardcover if I like it. But that is Ember in the Ashes. I have heard wonderful, wonderful things about this series, and I've had it for quite a while. I picked it up, as you can see from the sticker, from Walmart forever ago, because they just randomly had it, and I knew my friends were reading it, so I was like, sure, let me grab this. And I started it, and I got kind of bored, but again, it was very political. So younger me wasn't exactly into that. I just wanted to read fairy smut, which is bad, I know. But that was what I was into at the time. I didn't really want to read political books or political fiction, which I think this has pretty heavily. It's pretty war heavy, I think. Not positive, but I'm fairly certain. But I've heard wonderful, wonderful things about it, so I do want to give it another go. Again, I don't have the rest of the series, and I don't want to prioritize getting the rest of the series just because I have so many other things to read. However, if I do like it, of course, the ruling still stands that I could buy the books whenever if I wanted to. Can you not? Like, can you actually not? Now, these last three with an asterisk on it, books are not books that I own. These are the bulk of the books that I want to read this year that I don't own. The first one is the Witcher series. I definitely want to read at least the first book. I know it is quite an extensive series, so I definitely don't think I'm going to get through the entire thing this year. But if I have time, I would like to get through at least one or two of the books and maybe get my hands on a couple of them. Very excited, have been meaning to read it for a long time. I thoroughly enjoyed the TV show, and I've never played the video games, but I've watched my dad play the video games, so I think I'll love it. It's a medieval fantasy, which is my favorite genre, and I'm very excited. I want to read it, but yes, want to grab that, want to get my hands on that. So if any of you know of really pretty copies of The Witcher, drop them in the comments, because I am a hoarder of pretty copies of books, please. The other book series that I want to get my hands on is the Poppy War trilogy. I think it's a trilogy, I don't know. But again, I'm mentioning Cassandra because she read this book series this year and she absolutely could not stop raving about it. She loved it so much. She described it as a political fiction, and I'm getting more into that now that I'm being a mature reader. I'm becoming a more mature reader, and I think it would really be up my alley. I've definitely been looking to broaden my horizons on the things that I read, and this sounds super cool, and I want to read it because she loves it mostly. But I've also heard other people talking amazing things about it, so. And the final book on this list is going to shock many of you, but I have decided that this is the year that I give The Cruel Prince another try. Again, it's the same case where I read it in high school and I didn't really like it at all because I was not as mature of a reader as I am now. Not necessarily as mature of a reader, just my tastes were very much different. I was not looking for political fiction. I was not looking for anything that would make me have to think. I just wanted escapism, which is still the case. However, now I want escapism with actual world building and, like, you know, political drama. I'm a poli-sci major. I'm here for it. Give it to me. So I'm gonna give it another try. After reading Book of Night, I'm not certain that I really enjoy Holly Black's writing style, and that definitely could have played a big part in why I disliked The Cruel Prince so much the first 2 times that I read it. I'm gonna give it another try. Maybe the 3rd time is the charm. Who knows? This is gonna be the year that I retry The Cruel Prince. But I did sell my copy, so I will have to rebuy it. But I could probably find it on Amazon or eBay or half price for really cheap. So we will just have to see. But that is going to be way down the line because I don't feel like dealing with that right now. I just got through one of Holly Black's books. I don't want to do another one right now. I can only stomach so much at one time, you know? But that is going to do it for my 2023 TBR. Wow, that feels so weird to say. I do hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, you should definitely subscribe for more content just like this. I am back home now, so I will have a much nicer background for all of my videos because I have my bookshelf back, and I will hopefully have a lot more fun content coming y'all's way. You should like the video because it's easy, comment because it makes me smile, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye, guys!